Hello, Internet. Welcome to my bedroom. It's time for my one subscriber face reveal. Woohoo, milestone. I'm my own subscriber. Doesn't really count. So I've had a lot of free time over this weekend because I've got nothing else to do. So I've compiled a list of over 100 free software that'll work on Mac, on Windows, and on Linux. They're totally cross-platform and they're all free. Most of them are open source. I wish all of them were open source, but some are just free, but with some restrictions. But they're just really good, so I'm not going to pass them up. So this is the ultimate free software guide. It's kind of clickbaity. I don't make the rules. That's just what I'm going to title it. So I'm making this video to sort of complement this article that I wrote on Medium. I don't really love Medium, but it's what all the hit bloggers use, so whatever. So I'm going to be going through the software that I've picked out and compiled one by one. Yeah, one by one. I'm going to tell you how I use it, why I recommend it. So if you don't want to watch this whole video, Lord knows how long it's going to be, you can just check out the article. I've got all the software listed with screenshots and links, so definitely check that out if you're interested. So I use 3 different operating systems. I use Mac, I use Windows, and I use Linux operating systems, all sorts of different distros. I'm a distro hopper. I like testing out different distros. I really wanted to find software that would work on all 3, sort of, learn once, use thrice. And I quickly found out that most of the best software options out there are free and cross-platform. Yeah, this is all software that I use pretty much every day, and I highly recommend to everybody. I'm really fed up with subscription-based models of licensing software. I recommend that everyone goes as open source and free as they can. Okay, so I'm not gonna waste any more time. Let's get down to this list. We've got a lot of software to get through. Okay, so here's my Medium article. The video that I'm making right now will probably go here-ish. Here's pretty much what I just said as an opening. So for some reason, Medium doesn't support table of contents. I probably should have used GitHub because that one does, but it's too late. I've already written the article and I'm not going to switch over. So I've laid out all the different categories of software that I've compiled into this list. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Go ahead and read. You're going to have to scroll. Unfortunately, you can't just click and jump to it. If I used GitHub, I probably could have done that, but I didn't. So you're just going to have to scroll. There's going to be a lot of scrolling. So let's jump right in. Let's see. So the first category is Office. You're probably familiar with the Microsoft Office, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Well, what many people don't know is that there's a totally free alternative that works just as well and is actually compatible with all the Microsoft software called LibreOffice. And I've laid out a few of my favorite LibreOffice products in this list. So first up is LibreOffice Writer. It's a word processing software alternative to Microsoft Word. You can do everything you do in Word in LibreOffice Writer. It's fully compatible with Doc and DocX formats, so I haven't actually had the need to open up Microsoft Word in years. I do all my writing in LibreOffice for schoolwork, for professional work, for writing essays, for writing scripts, for writing short stories, long stories, whatever you need. It's a great alternative to Word, and it's totally free and totally open source. Highly recommend. Next up is LibreOffice Calc. It's a alternative to Excel. It's for spreadsheets, so you can do data visualization. It supports formulas. It's great for whipping up. I use it for CSVs mainly, but you can use it to present data, organize your finances, whatever you do in Excel. This totally supports all Excel files, so if you're working with people that use Excel, it's totally compatible. It's great. Next up is LibreOffice Draw. I don't know if there's a real Microsoft alternative, but it's very close to Adobe InDesign. I use it for making PDFs. I recently used it to make a color playbill for a local theater. I was putting on some plays and they needed like a brochure, so I used LibreOffice Draw totally for free, and it looked great and people loved it. The software is super quick, it's super stable, and I loaded in really big images, so it was kind of clunky, but that was my fault, that wasn't the software's fault. So remember to optimize your images, and there's some image optimization tools down in the list later on. Office Impress, this is for slideshows. This is your PowerPoint alternative. This is the last LibreOffice one, I swear. We'll move on. I actually like using Google Slides, but I'm not going to be totally dependent on something that's requires online connection. LibreOffice is really, really good. There's a ton of templates available online, so you can it's really easy to get started making slideshows that look really nice. It's got animation tools, it's got shape tools. It's PowerPoint, but free and in some ways better. All right, that was our last LibreOffice one. We're gonna move on to other things. I love LibreOffice Suite. Definitely donate to their team. Their project is awesome. Now we're gonna move on to graphics and animation, and there's a ton of tools available. Here are some of my favorites. So if you're looking for a Photoshop alternative, a popular one is GIMP. GIMP is great, but it has kind of a learning curve to it. I came from Photoshop, so I had to like rewire my brain a little bit. And GIMP is super powerful. You can definitely use GIMP. I actually like using a tool called Photopea, which is online, which is not great, but you can use it in a site-specific browser. There's a tool called Ice that's made by the Peppermint OS team. I love Peppermint OS, and I highly recommend checking that out as well. GIMP is great. If you're willing to put in the time to learn its workflow, it's just as powerful as Photoshop. But also check out Photopea. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Inkscape. This is for vector graphics. It's an alternative to Adobe Illustrator. I don't do a lot of work with SVGs, but I have. I've done t-shirt designs, I've done logos. I had a tough time figuring out how Adobe Illustrator actually worked with the groups, and I don't know, it didn't make much sense. But Inkscape is super intuitive. You can jump right in and start making vector graphics. It's totally compliant with the SVG format, with PDFs, with EPS. I really like the pen tool. It behaves very well, opposed to something like Photoshop, where like you have to mess with the handles too much and it never does what you want it to do. But I really like Inkscape. It's fast, it's stable, and it's free. Let's talk about Blender. I'm a filmmaker, I do visual effects, and I do some 3D animation and physics simulations. I freaking love Blender. It pretty much replaces almost every visual effects tool out there, and with the new updates 2.9, I mean, I don't know why everybody's not using it. It's a bit of a meme, okay, I get it. Why don't you use Blender, blah, 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 blah. But for real though, it's insanely powerful. I'm trained in using the Foundry Nuke and Adobe After Effects, but honestly, I've been using Blender for most of my visual effects work in the past year or two. The new updates are phenomenal. And just the sheer amount of tutorials that are available on YouTube or online is mind-blowing. It's incredible. So here's my favorite part about Blender. I'm super impatient. I don't like waiting for things to render. I just want to see what I'm working on in real time. And Eevee, which is Blender's render engine, was literally programmed by wizards. I don't know how it works, but it's pretty much real time. It's incredible. And it looks pretty freaking phenomenal. I've linked Ian Hubert's teaser for his new series called Dynamo Dream. He rendered the whole thing in Eevee, and it looks spectacular. It's incredibly powerful. You can use Blender for pretty much anything you're doing in 2D or 3D. It's super powerful, and a lot of like real animation studios are transitioning over to use Blender. And I totally understand why. It's super deep and super powerful. Highly recommend if you're interested in doing any 3D work. Magical Voxel. If you're interested in doing voxel art, this is the tool I recommend. It's super intuitive. Did I spell renderer right? Yeah, okay, I did. I don't know why it's giving me that error. I listed it as an alternative to my Minecraft creative mode. I don't really know what other voxel art editors are really out there. But what makes Magical Voxel so special is that it's got this incredible path tracing renderer built on top of it. And you can build some seriously beautiful pieces of art. I guess I'll check this out. Can I open this? Yeah, okay, I can. Check out some of the art that people are making. It's really, really beautiful. I mean, look at that. It looks professional. I mean, look how freaking good that is. Look at the lighting. That one's my favorite. That's like wallpaper worthy. I'd use that as my wallpaper. It's really impressive. Definitely check it out if you're interested in making some, blocky voxel art. So if you're interested in digital painting, I gotta open a window. What's the on here? Okay. I'm like sweating. I've got too many computer running. Too many Ugh. Okay, if you're interested in digital painting, I highly recommend you check out Krita. It's an excellent alternative to things like Coral Painter or Photoshop. It's got a ton of really, really beautiful built-in brushes. And it's even got some, albeit bare bones, but animation functionality. So if you're interested in doing some sort of hand-drawn 2D animation, Krita is an excellent option. If hand-drawn is sort of not your style and you're looking for something a little bit more efficient, that's reminiscent of Adobe Flash or Adobe Animate, whatever they're calling it now, definitely check out Synfig Studio. It's a different workflow. It's not hand-drawn, it's tweening and bone-based, which means it'll fill in all the frames that you don't want to animate. And it's a great workflow. It's super efficient, and you can pump out projects in no time. Moving on, we've got Storyboarder. There's not a ton of storyboard softwares out there. I guess you could use Photoshop, but if you want something specifically for storyboarding films or short films or animations, Storyboarder is a great option. It's great for pre-visualizing all your shots. You can actually make animatics with this. You can time things. You can even actually import dot fountain screenplays, which pretty much lays out the whole script. Then you can just go in and draw the shots that you want. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm reading the GitHub changelog correctly, I think they're adding some sort of VR or AR functionality. I don't know what that is yet, but if that's the case, that's really cool. Yeah, Storyboarder's great. The website's actually really funny. Definitely give it a read. Storyboarder's great. Definitely check it out. Download from the GitHub. I think the website version's behind, but it's really excellent if that's if you're looking for storyboard software. If photography is more your thing, check out Raw Therapy. It's an excellent alternative to Lightroom. I actually know photographers that prefer using Raw Therapy over Lightroom for a handful of reasons. Raw Therapy has excellent RAW support, great color correction tools. It's totally non-destructive. And there's another option called Darktable. It's very popular. It's really personal preference. If you don't need all of the processing tools that Raw Therapy provides, there's a great app for organizing your photos called Digicam. I have a pretty big photo library, a lot of wallpapers that I like to organize, and Digicam can handle the hundreds of thousands of photos that I throw at it. I really appreciate all the tagging tools. It's got really cool face recognition and geotagging support. It's a little creepy how well it works, but it works. And it does have some photo processing ability, and you can do a lot of batch processing with it. If you've got a ton of photos you need to like watermark or resize or rename, Digicam is going to be your best friend. PNG Quaint, I don't really know how to say it, but it's an image compressor / optimizer. Most of the sort of shady web tools that exist on the internet for doing the same thing are built on. PNG Quant is crazy powerful. It's another piece of magic software. I don't know how it works, but it can reduce your image sizes up to 70%. It's good practice if you're putting images up on a website to compress them first, which makes loading times faster, a little snappier. PNG Quaint is a command line tool, but there's a ton of GUI front ends available on their website, so definitely check it out. This one's Image Optum. It's a popular Mac one, and I really actually can't tell much of a difference between the images before and after. The compression algorithm is pretty, it's magic. I don't know how it works. Oh, it also works with PNGs that have transparency. Okay, this is a bit of like esoteric software. It's not for everybody. You probably won't need it. But FontForge, it's a font editor. I personally am a font addict. I can look at anything and tell you pretty much what font it is. I spend too much time on the internet. But if you're interested in making your own typeface, or you just need some glyphs, FontForge is a great tool for designers. It reminds me of Adobe Illustrator, but it's pretty intuitive. And if you need to create fonts, this is definitely the tool I recommend. Another great one is Bird Font, but I just like the tools that FontForge provides. Okay, let's dive into writing and note-taking software. I do a lot of writing. I'm a student. I got to take notes during class, or just to keep my thoughts organized. So I use all these software for different things, all very frequently. Okay, let's start off with Journal++. It's an alternative to Adobe Acrobat. I don't like Acrobat. And all the alternatives on the web are pretty shady. It's like a minefield of toolbars and adware. I don't really know why. There isn't a real standard besides, I guess, Acrobat for PDF annotation. But Journal so far has been great. It's primarily for doing like handwriting, note-taking, but you can import all your PDFs that you want to annotate. There's text tools, there's drawing tools, there's shape tools, and it's really powerful. I really enjoy taking notes on it, or just jotting down notes for, say I'm giving notes on an essay or filling out a form or a test. Journal's what I use. It's great. It's free. It's not going to install Yahoo search or whatever. Simple Note. I really like Apple's Notes app, but it's not cross-platform. Doesn't format text very well. But what does is Simple Note. So for more traditional note-taking, this is what I use, say, in class when the teacher's speaking, because I like formatting with bullet points and indenting, whatever they call that. Not Cornell. Whatever it is. It's great for jotting down grocery lists or project notes, notes during class. I used it to put together this list of software. I just, things that were coming to my head, I'd put it down. And it's great. It's got support for pretty much for Mac, Windows, and Linux, yes. And there's phone apps, and there's a web browser interface. And it's great. It can handle all your syncing for you. If you don't want that, check out this next option. Okay, so Simple Note isn't super secure. They store all of your notes in plain text. When it's going back and forth between their server, it is encrypted, but they store it in plain text. If you're dealing with sensitive information, I recommend Joplin. It's a little bit more heavy duty. There's better image support. It's decentralized, so you can run it yourself. There's a few more security options, and it's open source, which Simple Note is not. So if you're into desktop publishing, say you're putting together a magazine or a brochure or a pamphlet or like a coffee table book, Scribus is great. It's an alternative to Adobe InDesign, or that's how I've been using it. And it's great. It makes typesetting and layout a breeze. I recently used it to put together a coffee table present a present that was a coffee table book. Let me try that again. A coffee table book as a present. There we go. A coffee table book as a present for one of my bosses. I took all of his inspirational blog posts off his website and I whipped it together into a cool little book, printed it out, and gave it to him, and he loved it. So thank you, Scribus. Yeah. If you don't need all of the fancy formatting tools that Scribus provides, check out Sigil. It's more straightforward, like ebook editing. It's used for EPUB files, which are XHTML files at their core. It's like a zip of HTML files. It's got a really nice interface, super intuitive, super straightforward. It's got great tools for doing like simple formatting and organizing and generating a table of contents. Okay, those are our writing tools. So now let's go to productivity. This is what I use to sort of keep my project organized, keep my brain organized, and just throw it into to-do lists and what keeps me on track. This is how my brain operates best, is with the help of these tools. So the main tool I use is Microsoft To Do. Okay, here's the thing. I used Wunderlist for years. And for some reason, Microsoft decided that they'd shut down Wunderlist and then open up basically To Do, which is a reskin of Wunderlist. Whatever. To Do works great. It's just a reskin of Wunderlist, and it works. It's great. I use To Do lists for all my homework and assignments, and I like that little dopamine hit of checking off, my tasks. It's great. I'll admit it. I'm a really bad procrastinator. The only thing that I found that can keep me focused to get shit done is the Pomodoro technique, which is like 25-minute work periods followed by short breaks. And this is a great app, Pomotroid. It's a great timer app. You can change your break lengths. I really like the little chime it makes at the end of the your work cycles. And it's really nice. It's simple. It does everything I need to. And it's free. If you're looking for sort of a one-stop shop for productivity, keeping everything organized, check out Super Productivity. People have called it an alternative to Asana or Trello. It's got to-do lists. It's got a built-in Pomodoro timer. It's got a notepad, a time tracker, a project organizer. The app looks beautiful. It works on your desktop or in a web browser. And it gives you really all the tools you need to manage and organize all of your tasks. It's great for freelancers. So those are the things I use to stay productive. And when I'm not being productive, I like to read. You'll see more time wasters down below, but I like reading. The sort of Swiss Army knife of reading on desktop or digitally is Calibre. I thought it was Calibre, but I listened to the developer talk. It's Calibre. And it's an ebook organizer. It's more than an ebook organizer. It can do a whole lot of shit. I have a Nook. Remember the Nook? Yeah. And Calibre really breathed new life into it. I got a couple more years of usage. I still use it today to read my books. I like having the backlit screen and big text. Reading like traditional books is kind of tough for me now. My eyesight's bad. I stare at screens too much. Calibre can do a whole ton of stuff. It can organize your books. You can edit metadata, convert your ebooks to different formats, download new books for free, or you can actually it'll link like Barnes & Noble or Amazon or Abe Books, wherever you can buy your books. And I'll show you like the cheapest prices available, which is super useful. You can download daily news and magazines, which is awesome. And it comes with a pretty decent desktop ebook reader app. And if you partner Calibre with Project Gutenberg's library, you have access to literally thousands and thousands of classic books at your fingertips, reading totally for free. If you just need to view PDFs, again, I don't know why PDF viewers and annotators are like a minefield of adware and junk that you don't want on your computer, but Ocular, which is made by the KDE team, which I love. Ocular is my choice of PDF reader. It just works. It's got everything I need to read my PDFs. It's got zoom tools, thumbnails, bookmarks, what else? The table of contents. I love table of contents. Why doesn't Medium support table of contents? If I need to annotate, I'll use Journal, but if I just need to view and read, Ocular is great. If you're into comics and digital comics, my recommendation for the Reader app is Yak Reader. Yak Reader is super sleek, super quick. It's got a bunch of really great reading tools that I really appreciate, like the magnifying glass. It comes with a Yak Reader library, which helps you organize all your comics. And if you give out a couple bucks, $3 I think, you can get the iOS app, and they play really nicely together. I have an iPad as well, and I like reading comics on my iPad. I can't ditch RSS. I love RSS. I hate social media. I like to get my news the medium fashion way, old, new, sort of old fashioned way. I don't know. RSS. If you don't know what RSS is, it's how people got their news in like sort of the 2000s, I guess. And it's how I get my news today. My RSS reader of choice is Raven. I like having it download. I don't like Feedly. I don't like it being online. The UI is really nice. It's really easy to organize. You can chomp through a day's worth of articles in no time. And yeah, I mean, Raven just looks really nice. I mean, look at it. It's a pleasure to read from. I like Raven. There's a few other options. Some of them you have to pay for, which kind of is weird for an RSS reader. Raven's totally free. I recommend Raven. Okay, internet. This is a pretty chunky section. I do a lot of stuff on the internet. Starting off is web browser. I use Firefox. I love Firefox. I don't like Chrome. Chrome has all sorts of issues. It's a RAM hog. There's all sorts of privacy issues with Google. I don't want them tracking. Firefox, out of the box, blocks a ton of trackers. I actually like Mozilla, which is Firefox's parent company. They do a ton of great stuff for the open net. Firefox, I've got some bad browsing habits. I have like 150 tabs open on my MacBook, and Firefox still works pretty snappy, even though all those tabs are open. Shockingly, I'll go through, I'll close them, don't worry. Firefox works great with DuckDuckGo. It has built-in integration. I like Mozilla's send service if I'm going to send files under 2.5 gigabytes to people over the internet. It's handy. They link self-destruct. I'm not going to send anything sensitive over there, but if it's just, like a video or an image file that's like big and beefy, I like Send. It's handy. If you're looking for something a little bit more power user friendly, definitely check out Vivaldi. It's beautiful. I think I put a screenshot below. Yeah. I mean, look how pretty that is. Oh, it's so pretty. I think Vivaldi's from the people that made Opera, or some of the people that made Opera. It's super customizable, super themable, but it's a little bit chunkier than Firefox. Firefox is a little bit more lightweight. Okay, email clients. It was really hard finding an email client that worked for me. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of them are paid, and this one kind of is too. Well, let me explain. So Rambox is what I use. I use the community edition, which is totally free, totally open source. And why I like it is that I've got a ton of email addresses. I've got a personal one for school, one for work, another personal one, another one for school. It's a mess. And I also have a few other messaging services that I use that I wish had sort of desktop integration and notifications, so I don't have to always be looking at my phone, like GroupMe and unfortunately Facebook Messenger. That's a whole other story. So Rambox is a great way for me to keep all that organized in one place. I can keep all my emails in one thing. I don't mind the Gmail web interface. I've sort of customized it to how I like it. And Rambox is just a sort of a place to hold all of those different sort of sandboxed mini browsers, site-specific browsers, whatever it is. Whatever it is, I like Rambox. If you're looking for a more traditional email client, check out Thunderbird. It's made by Mozilla. It's great. It works. But I've got too many emails, and I don't actually like having all my emails stored on my computer, just because I've got literally tens of thousands of emails and it takes up too much space. I don't want to re-record this at 2 a.m. I really don't. I gotta check out that NVIDIA noise reduction AI so I can just record whenever. Okay, they've stopped. Okay, all right, moving on from email. Now it's instant messaging. Remember instant messaging? There's a bunch of options out there, some old, some new. I just use the one that my friends use. It's Discord. I like Discord. I like the way it looks. I like the way that the servers are organized. I do wish it was marketed towards a little broader audience, more than just gamers. I'm a gamer. I use it for gaming. But many people are sort of hesitant to use Discord for messaging because it's sort of marketed for gamers, and it's not really, I don't want to say mature, but maybe not professional. Anyways, it's super powerful. I use it for messaging and I use it for voice chat, and it works great and it looks really good. But yeah, I wish it was just marketed a little bit differently. So with the pandemic, everybody's video conferencing, and I really don't like Zoom. It's got a ton of security flaws and privacy problems, and I really don't like the thought of having any sensitive conversations over that platform. Jitsi, on the other hand, is totally open source. You can self-host a server. They also have their own, they host one too, so you can like have a password protected room. It's got far more options, far more control, and it's way better quality. Zoom has been throttling their bandwidth, so the resolution sucks and they compress the hell out of their images. But Jitsi looks great. It's sharp, it's clear, the audio sounds great, and I recommend that everybody use Jitsi over Zoom. Okay, so Pennywise is a really handy tool to have on your desktop. It's a floating windows that it lives sort of on top of all your other windows on your desktop. So if you want to put up a tutorial or a TV show or just like reference material, you can point it to pretty much any website and it will keep it floating on top of all your other windows. It's super great for working with tutorials, multitasking / procrastinating with YouTube videos. It's really handy. I really love it. I use it pretty much daily. I hate to say it, but I literally can't browse the internet anymore without an ad blocker. I want to support the websites that I use, but ads are so invasive and so they just pop up. It's cluttering. I don't like it. So I use uBlock Origin. It's a wide spectrum blocker, so it doesn't just block ads, it blocks malware sites, malicious sites, trackers, ads, and I really resonate with their manifesto, which is the user decides what web content is acceptable or not in their browser. There's other options, AdBlock Plus and uBlock, but they've got some manifesto issues. Definitely do your research. I like uBlock Origin, not uBlock, uBlock Origin. Make sure you get it from the link here. I don't know why their GitHub is just called uBlock, but it's not uBlock, it's uBlock Origin. It's a little messy. There's a lot of crossover in the names. uBlock Origin is great. It's super lightweight. Hey, that rhymed. It lives in every browser. It's the first thing that I install. And it makes browsing the web a much more enjoyable experience. So download managers. I didn't really understand the need for download manager. I mean, I've got like this download menu in my browser. Why would I need a download manager? Well, it's handy to have. It keeps them organized. Sometimes you'll Firefox will like get rid of the downloads. And this is just a more comprehensive way of downloading and selecting when you want things to download, how fast you want them to download, organizing all your files, doing some post download processes. For primarily videos, I like XDM, the Extreme Download Manager. I don't love how it looks, but I respect how powerful it is. I think it's built on YouTube DL and ARIA 2. I'm not sure, but it feels like it is. It's crazy freaking fast. It does download faster than the browser. They claim it can download like 500% faster than your browser. Who knows if that's true? But it does actually feel like it. It gives you a little like pop up on the bottom of your screen if you're on like a site that has a streaming video, like Vimeo or YouTube or alternative browsing sites. It can strip videos from over 1,000 different sites. The browser integration is super smooth. It can convert files after download, which is super handy if you have a media server. It's got really good scheduling functionality. You can download pretty much any file with XDM, but I use it primarily for videos. If you're going to download other things, I recommend the next tool, which is the free download manager. Okay, the website's really shady and the name sucks. It just sounds like malware, but it works. I don't think it's malware. On their website, they have no adware. I take their word for it. But FDM is my choice of downloading things outside of videos. I got fed up with JDownloader. I used that for years, but they bundle ads with it, and you have to like go and find like the adware free download, which is super shady. FDM is great. It has torrent support. It can resume broken downloads. It's got nice modern UI. It's got full remote control support, so you can access it from any computer on your network. If you're torrenting, like Linux ISOs, what else would you torrent? Deluge is my favorite option. No bundled adware like some of the other popular options. Why do people still bundle adware? Why? It sucks. It's super lightweight. It's got a ton of plugins. It's great. You can organize all your files that are downloading. If you're looking for something sort of more Mac UI-ish, just sort of like a different interface, check out Transmission, totally cross-platform. I think I have a screenshot. Yeah, screenshot. It looks more like this opposed to like this. I don't know how to describe it. List view versus different list view. I don't really know the difference. They're both great. I use both. Great for Linux ISOs. Yeah. VNC, if you're doing any sort of remote desktop work, you're probably familiar with VNC. I don't like TeamViewer. I think it's super shady. It's got a lot of security flaws. I don't like it. So I prefer more traditional VNC. What does it stand for? Virtual something connection? Whatever. I like VNC. I use Tiger VNC. It's a continuation of Tight VNC, which I used for many years, but they've stopped developing it. Tiger VNC comes as both a client and a server, which makes it super handy to just throw in any computer on your network. And it's great. I've controlled fleets of computers when I did IT work. It's great if you just need to log in, do some tech support, fix whatever, install, uninstall, help old people with email, whatever you need to do. Tiger VNC gets my vote. If you need a network scanner, if you want to see what devices are on your network, I recommend Angry IP Scanner. The name sounds a bit scary. It sounds like a hacker tool or whatever, but it's not. It's super handy for finding devices on your network. It scans a whole range of IPs and ports, and it can give you the host name if that's set up, and you can export the results to CSV for later reference. There's an article or a joke somewhere about like someone that couldn't find, like literally couldn't find a device on their network, like it was lost somewhere. If you know what I'm talking about, please send me the link. I was looking for it all last night. I couldn't find it. I sort of referenced the joke here. It's like there's a Raspberry Pi up in your attic that you don't want to like climb up and find. So if you want to just find the IP, use Angry IP Scanner. If you need to analyze traffic on your network, Wireshark is pretty much the standard go-to. You can monitor packets going in and out of your network. It's got some great filtering modes, so you can sort of hone in on. Oh, my dog's here. You want to say hi to my dog, Internet? Come on. Come here. Give me 3 internet points. Doggy. All right. Make sure you smash that like button, and I'll pet my dog. Come here. Come here. Let me pet you. Yay. I'm recording a video, doggy. Oh, please don't take my stuff. Well, one dead camera battery later, and we're back in action. The dog is left, unfortunately. But let's get back to business. I was talking about Wireshark. I don't remember what I was saying, but it's great. You can filter certain traffic, just hone in on what kind of data you want to see. And it's interesting, if anybody's using an unencrypted site on the network, you might see some personal info, so make sure you use HTTPS everywhere, literally. Check out this link. You'll see. If you're doing file transfers on the same network, NitroShare is great. I really like AirDrop, but again, not cross-platform. NitroShare sort of fills that gap. You can transfer between Mac, Windows, and Linux computers. It's great. I've sent gigabytes, if not terabytes of files through NitroShare. It's super fast. It's super easy. And it's handy because sometimes I forget to format my drives to exFAT, so they don't really work on all my operating systems. But with NitroShare, I don't have to bother with that or like reach around and like plug something in. It's much easier to just do over the network. It's no secret, I love music. I've got a huge music library, and I need something to play it. I have used quite literally almost every single music player that's been made and is publicly available. And in some way or another, they all fall flat. I really hate iTunes. I mean, you know why it sucks. It sucks. I've tried paid options like Audio Nirvana. I've tried Foobar. I liked Foobar. Amarok, the hundreds of options on Linux. But I always come crawling back to Clementine. Clementine fills most of the features that I require. It can handle my massive, massive audio library. It supports album art fetching, lyric info, artist info. The UI is admittedly gross and old, but the GitHub repo is still pretty active. I'm hoping for an update soon. There's a popular fork called Strawberry. I tried it out, wasn't a huge fan, but if you want sort of more audio file features, it's a little bit more updated. Definitely give it a shot. If you're into streaming music, I love streaming music. It's super convenient. It's great to discover new music that way. I actually really like Spotify. I pay for Spotify. I love Spotify. But not all the music that I listen to is on Spotify. I listen to a lot of like weird net indie stuff. And Nuclear is a great way to organize and find new music. It's got great discovery features. It's got a really powerful search bar. It's got a lyrics display, which Spotify does not have. It's got a great EQ, and the website is actually really funny. Check out the testimonials on the site. You'll see what I mean. If you're into terminal-based music players, I love terminal-based music players. I used CMOS for years, but I have since moved over to the Music Cube project. I just like the interface. CMOS and Music Cube do pretty much the same thing. But Music Cube actually has a built-in music server, which is actually kind of neat. It's got an Android app that pairs really well with it, so you can stream music to your Android phone. I don't know if there's an iOS app. Yeah, I like Music Cube. I like CMOS too. Definitely check out CMOS if you, I think it's cross-platform. Should be cross-platform. I don't see why it wouldn't be. So definitely check out Music Cube. If it isn't working for you, check out CMOS. CMOS will do the trick. I just like Music Cube's interface more. So for many years, my music collection was a total mess. There was just stray MP3s, things were mislabeled, there was no album art. I love album art, and it was killing me that things were just, I couldn't tell what I was looking at. Music Brains Picard is literally the spine of my music collection. I chuck every album that I get into it, and it works magic. It's built on the Music Brains database. I think that's how it works. And it's pretty automatic. You can either feed it like an album name, or there's a scan feature where it'll take like an audio fingerprint, send it to their database, and it'll tell you what it is if you don't know what it is. Super handy. I also have it set to, after it's done scanning and getting all my metadata, it puts it into my music library, sorted the way that I've sorted my library. Super customizable. I love Music Brain Picard. If you're into listening to podcasts, definitely check out Podder. It's a great alternative to iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. The UI looks totally kick-ass. It's totally themable. You can change all the colors. It's got a huge library. I think it's based off the iTunes library. There's another popular option called Wins, which also has a web version, but I just happen to like the way Podder looks. And it has a great feature where you can just download podcasts for offline listening. Great for working out or long drives. Super useful tool to have. If you're on the production side of things, I've done some album recording. I ran sort of like a ramshackle studio out of my dorm room in college. I use Ardour? Yeah, Ardour. It's kind of my alternative to Pro Tools. It's really good for live recording. It's got solid VST support, AU support. It's got EQ for days. And it's great. It's actually got really good video functionality, so you can hook video up and you can sort of mix soundtracks or sound effects or Foley, whatever you're adding. Ardour is super powerful. Definitely check it out. There's got a really big community around it. Yeah, and it does the job perfectly well. If you sort of come more from the school of FL Studio, you're used to virtual instruments, definitely check out LMMS. The interface and the workflow is super similar to FL Studio. You'll have no problem transitioning over. It comes preloaded with a bunch of samples, synths, VSTs, which all sound really freaking solid for software that's totally free. Again, another huge community around LMMS. You can download literally thousands of samples, projects, and presets from their sharing platform. If you're looking for something a little bit more simple but shockingly powerful, we all know it, we all love it. It's Audacity. I use it to record voiceovers and podcasts, and the audio editing tools that are under the hood. Again, written by wizards. The background noise reduction that they have is incredible. I don't know how they do it, but it works great. There's got like you can take music and turn it into like a karaoke track. Great compressor, great limiter. And great for, I use it mainly for like single track recording. Once I get more mics and interfaces involved, then I'll go to something like Ardour, but Audacity does great for just simple audio recording. If you're into music notation and composition, if you're a musician or a composer, check out MuseScore. Avid Sibelius is freaking expensive. So if you're looking for something to put together sheet music, definitely check out MuseScore. I don't know any musical theory. I'm not a real musician. I just do like DJ and stuff, which we'll get to. All the musicians that I know, they love using MuseScore. I had to use it for playback for a musical that I worked on. They gave me, I can't remember what the file type was, but it opens in MuseScore. And it basically sort of like plays it like a MIDI file. I guess that's how it works. It's super, oh, by the way, they're making a new version, MuseScore 4, which looks phenomenal. I'm super excited. I'm definitely gonna play around with it. I don't know anything about music, but once MuseScore 4 comes out, I'm gonna download it. I'm gonna play around and see, you know, I can make some terrible MIDI track. DJing, okay. So I do a little bit of DJing on the side. I'm no good. It's fun, it's a hobby. I've got a DJ controller. I spent way too much money on it. I don't like the software that came with it. It was Rekordbox. It's fine. And I think it was the full version, which I definitely appreciate. But a lot of times the DJ manufacturers, the controller manufacturers will bundle like light versions of the software that like don't have full functionality, which totally sucks. And I recommend switching over to Mix, M-I-X-X-X. And it's great. It's a great alternative to all the industry standards. The UI is really easy to read. My DJ controller works right out of the box. The effects, the audio effects are super comprehensive. And the BPM detection is pretty spot on. It's stable, it doesn't crash. I haven't had a crash. Never had any weird audio issues, no popping, clicking. And I really don't plan on switching back to Rekordbox. Mix does the job and it works. Again, another big community around Mix. Tons of themes, tons of plugins. It's great. If you're looking for a good free synth, I really recommend Helm. Again, I'm not musically talented, and I really have no idea how synthesis works, but Helm is super pretty, super approachable to newcomers. The UI is friendly. The sound that it makes right out of the box is lovely. It works as a standalone and as a VST plugin, which is great. There's a ton more free VST synths. Helm is just the one that I like to use. I've listed a few articles right here. And then I also listed Surge, which looks promising. I haven't played with it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But Helm just sounds really good. Definitely check it out if you're interested in making cool noises. But I love butt. So back in high school, I did like an internet radio station with some friends. It was like the high school station. Nobody listened, but it was fun. And I was sort of the technical director, whatever you want to call it. And the way I would set everybody up is with Butt. Butt, it's a simple little app. It's tiny, but it gets your audio from your computer or your mixer to the internet, to a Shoutcast or an Icecast server. It's super easy to understand. The UI is simple. Just, it has built-in recording functionality, which is actually pretty nice. Tells you everything you need. It shows you your stream time. There's a built-in VU meter, which is nice. Make sure you're not, like deafening your audience. And the way that I really liked it is that you could sort of import and export the settings super easily. So all I had to do was just sort of make the config file once and then send it to all the DJs. They just import it and then just start streaming right away. Super useful. I love Project M. It's a music visualizer. It's been around forever, and it actually made me cool in college. It sounds ridiculous, but yeah. My roommates and I threw a party, and I had the idea to hook Project M up to a projector. We blasted it on a big blank wall in our room. And effectively, it looks like a DMT trip, if you know what that is. You'll see. And basically, a bunch of people came over, and they were just like literally hypnotized, just like staring mouth agape at this giant flashy thing up on our screen. It was really cool. People loved it. They talked about it for like days. They're like, "What the hell was that? How can I get that?" It was great. And on their GitHub page, they have a preset pack with 41,000 different presets. Oh, it's crazy. It's super fun to watch. It's a great way to sort of like visualize your music. I throw it on. It's very entertaining. It's very hypnotizing. Great for parties or art installations. Very minimal setup. Also, there's the very similarly named Smash Bros. Brawl mod, Project M. If you're into playing Brawl, definitely check out Project M. It fixes a lot of the balancing issues. I think a new version just came out. Definitely check it out. Jack. So if you're messing around with audio digitally, you're going to want a way to sort of pipe audio between applications. I did a lot of my audio work on Mac, and there's an app called Soundflower, but it's not cross-platform, and it's kind of hard to get. I don't know what happened to it. I think development stopped. I think someone else picked it up, but you kind of got to like look for it on the internet. But Jack is another very popular option. You can do virtual audio cables, so you can pipe audio from one app to another. And get all of your DAWs and visualizers and DJ softwares and streamers working together. Very useful. Okay, so I'm a filmmaker. I have to do a lot of editing. And I don't like Premiere. I don't like Final Cut. Avid Media Composer, I'd have to sell my kidneys to use. I really hate iMovie. I really, really hate iMovie. But what I found is Resolve is now becoming my new favorite. I don't like Adobe's price model. I don't like subscription services, so I'm not going to pay for Premiere. And Blackmagic Design's DaVinci Resolve, I mean, it's totally kicked Premiere out of my workflow. It's got pretty much everything I need, straightforward nonlinear editing, built-in VFX compositing. It's primarily for color correction, I guess. And it's got literally legendary color correction tools. And it's got great collaboration features. The base version is super solid. There's some features that are behind a paywall, but it's definitely worth the investment. If you're looking for a sort of more full open source alternative, popular option is Kden Live. I carry that around on a flash drive if I just need to do some quick editing on the go on any computer that I, have my hands on that isn't mine. But Resolve is great. Resolve is really, really, really powerful, and it works really well on Linux. And Linux doesn't have a ton of great video editors. It's got Kden Live, which is really powerful. But you won't really see it that often in professional settings, but you will see DaVinci Resolve. All right, I've got a little crush on OBS. Let me explain myself. It's totally indispensable. I really love it. I use it for pretty much everything. I use it for screen recordings. I use it for streaming games to Twitch. I actually prefer OBS as my sort of software video switcher for broadcasting live events. I do a lot of broadcast stuff. I worked, live streaming graduations and sports games and esports. And I really love using OBS for it. I love the workflow of scenes and sources. And I really, really love the browser source option. It opens up a whole new world of creative things to overlay. It's super flexible. It's super on the fly. It's got a ton of video and audio filters to make quick changes on the go. And it integrates pretty seamlessly with a lot of video capture cards. On Linux, you're not gonna have much luck with the Elgato cards, but any sort of like cheapo card that you can buy, or even a lot of the Blackmagic gear, it works right out of the box with some driver installation. Okay, so out of the box with driver installation. I've used it with the Blackmagic capture cards, the Decklink, and it worked seamlessly. I had to use OBS to stream a multicam football game. It was like 8 cameras with graphics, and outboard audio, and I got it all up and running in like 30 minutes. OBS is super handy and crazy powerful. Definitely one of my sort of first installs on a system. Okay, so Casper CG, it's a little bit of an esoteric software. You probably won't need to use it, but if you're in broadcast, you might need a video playout solution. If you've got no idea what video playout is, it's basically a method of playing pre-recorded videos or graphics on top of your live stream. Casper CG, totally open source. I think it's sponsored by like the Swedish national TV company. Super cool. And it's been my favorite option for a while. It is like server client based. You can get it running on one computer and then connect to it from another. And it's super powerful, super flexible. It's a great alternative to the crazy expensive solutions. I recently turned VLC into a pretty competent solution as well. Definitely check out that video. It's linked in the article. But Casper CG, it's pretty easy to get the hang of, and it has really good OSC integration, which means it pairs excellently with BitFocus companions. You can use it with the Stream Deck or the Stream Deck web buttons. Or no, the companion web buttons. Another piece of software that you might not need, but is very useful to me, is Imaginary Teleprompter. I'm not using a teleprompter right now. I'm going off the cuff, which is probably a bad idea. But Imaginary Teleprompter is great if you're doing live broadcast or pre-recorded broadcast with a script, and you need to have your talent read something. Imaginary Teleprompter is Electron-based, so that means it runs on pretty much everything. And you can even run it in browser, which is super useful. I hook it up to like any old monitor that I have laying around, or a tablet or a phone, and you can put it next to a camera. It's definitely one of the most full-featured teleprompter softwares on the market right now. The text editing is super flexible. The mirror screen options actually work. I've had so much trouble with other software. And it integrates really, really well with like a small wireless keyboard or a foot pedal. And I included a compilation of Linus from Linus Tech Tips getting angry at a teleprompter. You wouldn't have that issue if you used Imaginary Teleprompter. Go Imaginary Teleprompter. If you need to add subtitles to your video, Agisub is the way to go. Agisub, whatever. I don't know any of the alternatives. I think this is the standard for subtitles, and it's really, really good. And I've spent many hours in Agisub. The hotkeys are etched into my brain. The process is super simple. The text formatting is super powerful. You can animate your text. And I really just enjoy the workflow. It's very, very efficient. Okay, so compositing. This one's a little complicated. So I'm a trained Nuke artist. I do a lot of work in Nuke. And there's this option called Natron. I really like Natron, but It's not as full-fledged as Nuke. I really can't totally ditch Nuke quite yet. Natron is promising, but I think the project has had some development issues. I think they're looking for a maintainer right now. So if you're interested in this, definitely please offer your help because it's super promising. But if you're not doing anything too complicated, it can pull off any keying or roto work. It's OFX compatible, so you can add all your add-ons. It's got pretty good 2D tracking as well. If I can ditch Nuke, I'd love to switch over to Natron, but it's just kind of missing some functionality right now. But I'm definitely keeping my eye on this. I'm definitely following the development. And please, if you're a developer or if you're like a TD, please offer your help to this project. It's super, super promising. Lossless Cut has saved me hours of my time. It's an FFmpeg GUI. It's fantastic for trimming videos, merging videos, adding audio, remuxing, rotating videos, adding subtitles, all in literal seconds. Never again will I sit there and re-encode videos because of just a few bad frames. Lossless Cut does everything in seconds. It's another piece of magic software. I recommend it for every video editor. It'll save you hours and hours of time for re-encoding. I use media info pretty frequently to check technical information on my video and audio files, things like bitrate or codec or frame rate or resolution. It's handy to sort of like peek under the hood of your files just to see what's sort of going on inside. It's super handy for QC work, making sure that everything's the right quality that you need or in the right codec that you need. Okay, so Mystique is another new addition to my arsenal. It's a video converter. It's an FFmpeg GUI, and it's great for doing batch conversion of videos from one codec to another. The UI is totally intuitive. There's a bunch of really handy presets preloaded, and it's really handy if you don't want to mess with FFmpeg and the command line. There's a great tool for Mac and Windows. I don't know if there's Linux support, called Adapter as well. It's like a little salamander, I think. Or gecko, salamander, or axolotl, I don't know. It can handle video, audio, and image conversion. But if you just need something for video, Mystique is great. Home theater. I've got a little bit of a home theater setup. It's nothing spectacular, but I can watch all my movies and TV shows with relative ease, so I'm going to share some of the software that I use to do that. First and foremost, VLC. We all know VLC. The little traffic cone that could, that's what I say. I haven't found literally a single file that VLC can't play. It's super customizable, it's super stable, it's super reliable. It can replay videos from the net or from the network. And again, it's super customizable, so you can customize the UI to look exactly how you like. Mine looks similar to this. Out of the box, it looks a little different, but it looks super sleek, and it just works. It just works. So as my sort of home theater entertainment center front end, I use Kodi. I don't like Plex. I don't like MB. I don't want to pay for these extra features. Kodi plays things locally. It can play things online from different add-on services. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And Kodi just works. I don't like the default skin. I installed Amber. That's the screenshot here. Kodi looks a little different out of the box. I don't like it. But again, Kodi is super customizable. I've got it looking the way that I want to. And I use it sort of as the 10-foot interface. Is that what they call it, 10 feet? I use it for my bed with a wireless keyboard. And it works. It's great. I can browse my catalog, pick whatever movie I want. Go Kodi. Like it or not, CDs and DVDs are slowly entering obsolescence. So I've ripped most of mine using Handbrake. So, you know, I've converted all my CD music and DVD movies to digital files with Handbrake, and it's great. You can do a bunch of batch processes. There's a bunch of really handy presets loaded in. It's super duper powerful, more powerful than what I needed it to do. Yeah, but you've got pretty good control over the quality of the video that you're ripping. So for a media server, you could use Plex, you could use MB, Subsonic, Servio. I don't want to pay for the extra features. I don't really need the extra features, so I'm not going to pay for them. But I also want to have a little bit more control over my media server. So Plex and MB, they're fine. If you like Plex and MB, that's great, but I don't love their ecosystem. I like a little bit more flexibility with UPnP and DLNA. And Universal Media Server is what I use. I've got it running on that PC that has all my media and music and TV shows, and I can access it from my iPad, from my phone, from any web browser on the same network. And it's super handy. It does a great job of transcoding and sending to the network. It doesn't use that much bandwidth. It doesn't use that much RAM on the PC, which is shocking. Pretty much just works right out of the box. UPnP is super powerful, so I can just open up like VLC on my iPad and it just pops right up. I can see all my, movies and TV shows and music, and it's great. I love UMS. Caption. Okay, so I've been looking for like subtitle finder software for many years, and I could never really find something that just worked, that I didn't have to pay for. I'd rather just go find it manually. It's not that hard, but Caption came along and it's totally free and it works. I basically just throw whatever movie file that I need subtitles for into Caption's UI, and it just pulls a subtitle SRT from God knows where, and it works. I think it checks, I don't know if it's by name or by hash, but it's been accurate so far, for like, I'd say like 98%. Sometimes I'll have to like go find, a manual subtitle file for something that's in like a different language, but for the most part, Caption works great. Okay, so if you're doing any sort of development work, whether it's software or web dev stuff, so here's a few of my favorite tools for doing development work. My IDE of choice is Atom. It is a bit hefty. It takes a while to boot up, but the built-in themes are really pretty. I really like the syntax highlighted. It helps me sort of just understand what the hell my code is actually doing. If you don't like Atom, there's another great option called Visual Studio Code from Microsoft that works on all the operating systems as well. I just like the way Atom looks. Yeah. FileZilla. I think it's the most popular FTP client, maybe besides like CyberDuck. The interface makes sense. It's super easy to upload and download things from your web server or your website. And it just works. FileZilla, it's great. VirtualBox. VirtualBox is great for doing virtualization, so you can have like a mini computer inside your computer. It's great for personal and enterprise use. I've only used it for personal use though. I've used it to test new operating systems. I've used it to test software in like sandbox environments. But I also use it to boot up into Windows XP so I can play like older abandonware games that just won't work on modern operating systems. Yeah, it's super easy to set up too. Pretty intuitive. Definitely give it a try if you're interested in new OSs or sandboxing, whatever. If you need virtualization, VirtualBox is the way to go. Those are the main development tools that I use. There's thousands, tens of thousands of other free cross-platform tools out there that I've not put on this list. But if there is something that you really love, please put it in the comments of the Medium article or YouTube comments, and please share your wisdom and your knowledge of free software. Spread the love. All right, now we're gonna move on to education and math. So whether you're a middle schooler or a data scientist, I've listed some tools that might help you out in your workflow that you could use for general work, or that can help you study. So let's dive right in. First up is diagrams.net. It was formerly called Draw.io, and it's great if you need to put together diagrams or flowcharts. They have an online and an offline editor. Diagrams.net, you can download it, you can use it on a computer. I used it to help some younger students visualize a robotics program that we were writing. And it's great for helping them understand conditional logic in a very visual way. Plus, it has a bunch of really useful collaborative tools. Anki or Anki, I don't know. It's a great alternative to Quizlet for flashcards. I'm really bad at memorization. I recently took a Japanese language course, and the only thing that kept me from totally falling behind and failing the course was Anki. There was an unofficial mobile app that I used to download pre-made flashcards from Quizlet, and I could just study vocab on the go. It supports audio, it supports images, it supports video, it supports latex, and it can handle massive decks of hundreds of thousands of cards if you're like a medical student. It's a must-have for any student. I really recommend Anki. Scratch. I know this might be a weird one. You might be like, what are you talking about? It's like a kid's toy. Don't let the interface fool you. It's designed by researchers at MIT to help people, kids and adults, understand coding principles. So if you're just getting into programming, I definitely recommend checking out Scratch. It's a great way to sort of visually understand the logic behind your code. It's how I learned back in the day. And I've taught courses on it as well for younger students and adults. You can use it for making games, making interactive stories, animations, and there's some seriously cool projects. People have pushed it to its limit. I've linked a bunch of really cool projects on the Scratch website as well. GNU Octave. Okay, so MATLAB scares me. I'm not a high-level math person by any means, but I have friends who are, a lot of STEM people, and they like GNU Octave because they don't want to pay an arm and a leg for MATLAB. GNU Octave is compatible with MATLAB scripts or their syntax, and GNU Octave seems to be just as powerful. It might be missing some functionality that MATLAB has, but for the most part, I think it's pretty compatible and pretty comparable. TextMaker. Okay, so if you're into latex, that sounds weird. If you have to write documents in latex, if you're in some sort of STEM field, you have to put together documentation, TextMaker is kind of the way to go. I don't really use latex all that often. Again, that sounds weird. I don't write documents with latex as often as my sort of STEM friends, but on the occasion that I do have to crack open a latex file, it can be as simple or as deep as you really need it to be. I am a latex newbie, so I really appreciate the symbols menu. The dual view makes viewing all your changes super easy, super quick, and I really appreciate the code folding features. It just helps me declutter and, declutter my documents and my mind. QCAD, if you're doing any 2D CAD work, like building layouts or mechanical parts, diagrams, QCAD might be your new best friend. QCAD is super easy to learn. It's very flexible. I am a bumbling fool with no formal CAD training, but I can make layouts with relative ease. It's definitely a viable option for doing professional 2D CAD work. There's some features that are behind a paywall, but the base version is totally capable. Stellarium is a desktop planetarium. I'm a bit of a space nerd. I love space. And Stellarium is great for both reference and for fun. I love just sort of browsing around the sky. I think there's 600,000 stars that are cataloged out of the box, and you can add, 177 million more? Yeah, it's pretty full-fledged. If you're an astronomer, you should definitely be using Stellarium. It's great. But even just for fun, I just love scrolling around and looking at stars and different constellations. It's pretty beautiful and it's very relaxing. I really like it. Okay, utilities. This is a bit of a oddball bunch of software that I find to be incredibly useful. They all fulfill pretty specific tasks. So let's go through them one by one, like we've been doing already. Test Disk and PhotoRec. Again, another literal piece of magic software. It is file recovery. I don't know how it works, but it works pretty much all the time. I had a friend shoot an entire short film on one SD card, didn't back up the footage the entire time, and then on the last day shooting, the SD card totally pooped out and wouldn't mount to the computer. And many hours of tears and crying later, I threw it into PhotoRec and I got all the files back, and I saved a lot of money. I didn't have to go to like a crazy clean room. I saved a lot of time. I saved my ass. I saved my friend's ass. And it works. PhotoRec is primarily for media files like photos, videos, audio. Test Disk is a little bit more wide scale, saving the entire disk. But both do pretty much the same thing. They're both totally free. And they're incredible. If you're ever in a pickle where you need to recover some files from a broken drive, give it a shot. It's definitely worth it. It's totally free. And it can save your ass. PZip. So if you're looking for a zip extractor or a file compressor, I like PZip. It's built on 7-zip, I believe. And the 7-zip algorithm is pretty phenomenal. On Mac, I don't think you can get PZip, so I recommend Keka, which is just another 7-zip GUI. I guess 7-zip does have a GUI. It's another 7-zip Mac alternative. PZip is super quick at compressing, super quick at extracting, and it's pretty idiot-proof. Like, the UI is simple. It's hard to mess up. There were a ton of different options for terminal emulators. It really is personal preference. My personal preference is Alacrity, and what sets it apart is that it's GPU accelerated, which means it's blazing fast. I mean, if you've got the hardware, you might as well put it to use. It's wildly customizable, and I don't spend that much time in the command line anymore, but when I do, it's a blast with Alacrity. If you're looking for something very similar, I don't really know what the differences are, but some people prefer a GPU-powered terminal emulator called Kitty. So if you have some issues with Alacrity, try out Kitty. All right, antivirus software. I don't like antivirus software. You really shouldn't need antivirus software. Just use your brain. Don't download from shady sites. And honestly, most of the antivirus options that come bundled or pre-installed with your computer are bloatware, they're slowing your computer down, and they're invasive. I'd rather have a virus than McAfee installed on my computer. That's the truth. The only antivirus software that I can really support is ClamAV, totally open source. The databases are fresh and updated regularly. It isn't the most user-friendly out of the box. There might be some command line junk that you have to deal with, but there are GUIs available for Mac, Windows, and Linux, so you shouldn't have that much of a hard time getting it running, and it's a much better alternative than installing like Norton or McAfee. I don't know why people install CCleaner. Every time someone brings me a computer that's like slow or has adware, there's usually CCleaner. I don't know if there's any connection between the two, but it's got a really sketchy history. They've bundled malware, they monitor users' activity, and the business behind it, Piriform, has some really shady business practices going on. I don't like CCleaner at all. If you're looking for something that does do what it promises and doesn't come with adware, check out BleachBit. There's versions specifically for Mac, Windows, and Linux, and it cleans up your computer. It clears caches, temp files, cookies, just other junk that just takes up storage and slows your computer down. If there is a computer that's running slowly, or I need to get CCleaner off of it, I'll run BleachBit, and it just sort of greases the wheels a bit. It's a very useful utility to have on a flash drive. If you need to flash operating systems, whether Raspberry Pis or Linux computers or whatever you're doing, I like Balena Etcher. I really like the UI. It's super simple. No more fumbling around the command line. Every time I do like a DD command, I'm always afraid that I'm going to wipe my main hard drive. Etcher is it's more visual. I know I'm not going to wipe my main hard drive. I don't think it even lets me wipe my main hard drive, which is, thank goodness. If you want a little bit more manual control and flexibility, check out UNet Bootin. You just got a little bit more manual control on how the operating system is being flashed to your disk. Meld. Okay, so if you're a developer, you might be familiar with diff and merge tools. It's used for comparing two different versions of a file or a folder, see what's changed. And Meld has really good speed and really good accuracy. My use case is a little bit different. I use Meld to verify file transfers from SD cards. So if I'm done shooting something on a camera, I can make sure that all the files transferred over by just doing a quick Meld comparison. Clonezilla. So if you need to do disk backup, disk imaging, disk cloning, Clonezilla is a great alternative. You run it from a live USB or a CD. I mean, it is cross-platform. Yeah, it runs on any hardware, I guess. Its usability is really way out of the scope of what I need it to do. I'll just use it for just pretty basic backup from the hard disk to an external hard drive. I would recommend that you're double checking, you make sure you know what you're doing when it comes to Clonezilla. You might bork your data. I don't think it's possible. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's possible. If anybody knows of a more simple GUI, idiot-proof disk imaging tool, please let me know. I'm looking for something that I can give to my parents so they can make backups of their computers. NeoFetch. It's a bit of a meme, but it's NeoFetch. It's really cool. I like it. If you want to hang out with the cool kids on Unix porn or G, you got to install NeoFetch. It's a very pretty way to present your system information while taking screenshots of your recently riced desktop. It's a meme. It's super configurable, and it's fun seeing ASCII art of your super obscure Linux distro pop up in a very pretty way. All right, so privacy and security. I take my digital privacy and security pretty seriously. I'm not dealing with super sensitive information or data, but just out of the principle of it, I like to know that my data online is safe and my accounts are not going to get hacked. And if you are dealing with sensitive information, take a look at these tools. They might help save your butt. So first off is a password manager. You should absolutely be using a password manager, and I recommend Bitwarden. LastPass is good. I was using LastPass for a couple years, but I wanted to switch over to an open source solution. Dashlane, super shady. Don't use Dashlane. Security experts now are saying that you should have a unique, randomly generated password for every site. Check out haveibeenpwned.com and put in your email, see if your accounts have been breached, because if you use the same password for everything, yeah, they can use that password to log into any of your accounts. So you should definitely have a unique password for every online account that you use. And you're never going to memorize all that stuff. It's random strings of numbers and letters and symbols. So that's where Password Manager comes in. So Bitwarden's been great. It's supported on desktop, on mobile. It's got great web browser support. And they do generously provide their own online sync options where you can run your own server if you'd like. They've even got secure notes and two-factor authentication. Yeah, but if you really want to protect your online accounts, definitely check out Bitwarden. Tor browser. I really love the Tor browser. It's built on top of Firefox, and it gives you a more privacy-focused internet browsing experience. It blocks as many trackers, fingerprinters, and prying eyes as it can. It has really, really deep multi-layer encryption, and it sandboxes all the sites that you visit. It's got a ton of uses just for personal use, for privacy reasons. If you want to circumvent censorship, if you live in a country that blocks certain access to websites. Surveillance prevention, if you think that there's prying eyes on you, definitely check out Tor browser. I personally believe that everybody should be installing the Tor browser. It's the information age. Everybody needs access to the internet, and I think should be a human right. Cryptomator. This one's a really cool one. I recently got turned on to this by a friend. It's cloud data encryption. And let me explain what that means. So before you upload your important files to the cloud, I always recommend that you encrypt your data. As they say, the cloud is just someone else's computer. So if you're dealing with important files or sensitive data, you're gonna want to encrypt that data. And an easy way to do that is with Cryptomator. It basically creates a digital safe on something like Google Drive or Dropbox that you can open up and lock with a password that only you know. So that way, even if hackers get access to your cloud services like Drive or Dropbox, they can't access that data. It just looks like total gibberish to them. You have to have Cryptomator installed and feed it the password. Before you put anything important up on the cloud, make sure it's encrypted. Even if you're not storing your data on a cloud service, there are plenty of reasons you would want to encrypt your data on a hard drive or on a flash drive, and Veracrypt is a great tool to do so. You can create encrypted folders, you can encrypt entire hard drives or flash drives, or just encrypt certain partitions. And in case somebody forces you to give up a password, Veracrypt has some plausible deniability thing, so it's hidden folders inside of hidden folders. I definitely recommend that if you have important documents like passport scans, financial information, you should be encrypting all this stuff. So let's talk about some finance software. I do a lot of freelance work, whether it's video or software work. I have to send out a lot of invoices, and there's an app called Manta that makes that really easy. You just plug in all the information and it makes these beautiful templates for you. And it's super easy to organize, who's got to pay, have they paid, how much they got to pay. And it's really easy to throw all of your logos and branding stuff onto these and change all the colors. It's really beautiful and it's really handy. If you need something a little bit more full-fledged, say you need to do some personal accounting, or if you're an accountant, check out GNU Cash. I've used GNU Cash to budget a short film. Spreadsheets weren't cutting it, and I'd like something a little bit more focused and tailored for finances. So GNU Cash filled that gap. Intuitive, easy to understand, and shockingly powerful. I don't really know that much about accounting or budgeting or finances, but if you do and you're looking for a solution, check out their features page. You'll understand the terminology. It goes over my head. I don't know what it means. All right, let's talk about gaming. If you're a PC gamer, you know what Steam is. It's where everyone gets their games. And it really is king of the hill. I mean, their store is huge. They've got incredible sales. My backlog is full of literally hundreds of games that I will probably never play. I don't love using Windows. It's what I use on my desktop, but it's just the most compatible with the games that I play. But with advancements in Proton, more and more games are working straight away with Mac and Linux. So Steam's great. I've got all my games in Steam. But if you're looking for some DRM-free games, definitely support GOG Games and the Humble Store. They're smaller, but the games don't have that pesky DRM that can literally ruin the gameplay experience. I've got a ton of games from both, and I do want to support smaller indie game stores. If you're into retro game emulation, check out RetroArch. You probably know about RetroArch if you're into game emulation, but still, the UI kind of blows. It's like a PS3, PSP UI, which I'm not a huge fan of, but holy smokes, it could literally play anything. You can download cores for pretty much any platform that's ever been made, and you can game the night away with your friends. RetroArch has built-in netplay functionalities. You can play over the internet with your friends, and it works great. It works really, really well. So I don't want to include every single open source cross-platform game because we'd be here all day, but I'm going to include a few that follow me basically from computer to computer everywhere I go. Hubba. I've been talking for 2 hours and 30 minutes. So the first game that follows me everywhere is Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. It's a roguelike adventure game. It's kind of like the modern version of NetHack, and I love NetHack. And Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup definitely does the formula justice. It is highly addicting, infinitely replayable, and I've still never actually beaten it. It's pretty damn hard. It's super lightweight. It runs on pretty much anything. There's a really big community that's dedicated to just doing runs and runs and runs, and you can pretty much play it forever. There's no end. We're having fun. I think it's fun. I'm not sure anymore. Next up is Nulpomino. If you look at the screenshot, you might recognize what it is a clone of. I don't know if they're legally allowed to say what it is a clone of, but it's a grid-based block sorting puzzle game. Yeah, it's really addicting. If you know how addicting the original game is, Nulpomino is... I've lost hours into this game. If I ever have 10 minutes to burn, I'm booting up Nulpomino. I'm doing a 150 line marathon. It's got dozens of game modes. It's got online play, which is great. There's like fan servers that are up, and the people that play are really freaking fast, and they kick my ass. So just gotta keep practicing. It's really addicting. Definitely give it a shot. Next up is Clone Hero. I'm a big fan of the 5-button guitar games. I loved Guitar Hero. 3 was the best. And when I stumbled on Clone Hero, I literally lost like weeks of my life. Like, that's all I did. The library of songs online is massive. You don't need to have one of those plastic guitars. You can use your keyboard and it works great. That's how I played for the most part. And it really lets me relive my sort of like golden age of rhythm games. Okay, so those are all the games I'm gonna cover right now, but I've listed osgameclones.com. There's a huge list of like over 1,000 open source game clones that should all work on Mac, Windows, and Linux if you're looking for some free game clones. Okay, I lied. There's one more game. Flight Gear. It is an open source flight simulator, and it's an incredibly rewarding time sink. It's super realistic, it's super accurate, and it's really well documented, which means it's great for newcomers and experts alike. There's a ton of different aircraft you can import and play with. Also check out AirSim. I think it's by Microsoft. It focuses on drones and cars primarily, and I think it was built to test self-driving AI, but it's just kind of fun to fly drones around and drive around. It's very pretty too. I think it's built in Unreal. Give it a shot. So if you're into game development, you've got a few options for free. Unity and Unreal are free. I think Unreal requires some like kickback once you reach like a certain profit. Unity, I think you can use without paying. But if you want a free open source community driven game development environment, check out Godot or Godot. It's great for 2D and 3D games. There's a visual scripting interface that I find super handy. And itch.io, which is like an indie game marketplace, they have a great list of a ton of games made with Godot that you can check out and see how powerful it is. Parsec is really interesting. You can use it for remote gaming. I think that's what it's primarily for. If you want to do like couch multiplayer stuff, but totally online with your friends, Parsec is the way to go. It's crystal clear, 60 FPS, really low latency. They've got some magic going on behind the scenes. I don't know how it works, but it looks really good. But you can also use Parsec as sort of like a VNC client. You can use it to like remotely access any of your desktops or your workstations. I use it to access my desktop from my laptop if I need to make any changes from the other side of the house or from a different place in the world. So I've been talking for a while now. I think I've covered over 100 free cross-platform software options for you guys for a wide variety of things that's artistic, financial, development-based. You watched the video. But I'm not done. I'm going to talk about some free operating system options that I really enjoy and that I recommend. I was a Mac and Windows user primarily for years, but I got fed up with how rigid and closed and expensive they could really be. And so I made the jump to Linux for my second desktop, and that's what I put on most of my new hardware that I get. So if you're interested, I'm going to talk about 3. I'm going to talk about one that I recommend for beginners, one for more advanced users, and one for users that want to focus on privacy and security with some pen testing tools. So for people that are interested in making the jump to Linux, I recommend Pop! OS. It's based on Ubuntu, and it's my favorite desktop experience right out of the box. I mean, the setup process is unbelievably simple. Anybody can do it. I recently put Pop! OS on a like decrepit, chugging 2011 MacBook Air that had like adware. It couldn't run anything. It was too old. It was on 10.8. Was it Snow Leopard? What is that? 10.8? Yeah, that's old school. So I just chucked Pop! OS on there, and the laptop literally runs like it's brand new. It can do everything that a modern computer can do, and it's what, 10 years old, almost 10 years old? Yeah, I mean, Pop! OS is beautiful. The UI is elegant, it's simple, and my tech illiterate family can use the laptop now with no issues. I definitely recommend Pop! OS for any Linux beginners. If you're a more advanced user, definitely check out Manjaro. It's based on Arch. I prefer the KDE flavor of it. I just think it's beautiful. It's super customizable. I think it's one of the most customizable softwares I've ever used. And it's really fun to sort of peek under the hood of your operating system. You can tweak it, customize it. It's yours. I mean, I love it. I hate the rigidity of Windows and Mac, and I want them to look the way I want them to look. And with Manjaro at KDE, I can make it look exactly how I want it. It's super exciting. Manjaro with KDE is super snappy. It looks great out of the box, but you can tweak it to look however you want. And because it's Arch-based, you get access to the AUR, Flatpaks, snaps, and the official repo. So I have access to pretty much every software that's out there with just a few clicks. If you're looking for a more security, privacy-based operating system, I recommend Parrot OS over Kali. I love Kali. I love the OffSec team too. I just prefer the look and feel of Parrot OS. It's got hundreds of tools for pen testing, digital forensic, reverse engineering, and it just looks really good. Okay, that's it. We're at the end of the journey. That's a lot of software. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm sure I've missed something, but if I did and you know of other software that you think would be useful for other people to know, share the wisdom, spread the love. At this point in humanity and technology, a computer is basically an extension of the human body. It's an artist's easel, it's an engineer's workbook, it's, you know, my connection to the wealth of knowledge that is out there in the world. So if you've enjoyed the list, please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment. I'd love to know what you guys think. Really enjoyed making these videos, putting together these lists. Software is a passion of mine. I'd love to share the things that make me excited. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.